Well, I trust you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and got to enjoy some time with friends, family, probably ate more than you should have eaten, got to watch some football, watch some movies, and you gloriously allowed yourself not to follow the news too closely. Well, now it's time to come back to the real world and bring you up to date. So what exactly does Adam Schiff, Morgan Freeman, Walt Disney, and Andrew Yang have in common? Well, let's jump right into it. Adam Schiff, as you know, led the impeachment inquiry on behalf of the House Intelligence Committee. And now it's being kicked over to Jerry the Nads Nadler. You know, the guy that looks like the walking fire hydrant. And of course, he's going to have his own round of hearings this week. And the actual truth is, Nancy Botox Pelosi would like this whole thing to go away. Why? Because it has become absolutely toxic for the Democratic Party. Over the Thanksgiving recess, there have been, shall we say, detractors, defectors, defections from the Democrats among their own party who no longer want any part of this. Why? Well, they happen to be congressmen running for re-election and very heavily Trump districts. And they see the handwriting on the wall and they know they're in trouble. That said, Nancy Botox Pelosi now has made the commitment, so they've got to give the appearance of going full steam ahead, and they're also hoping to create enough headlines that when the IG report comes out next week, that, well, you know, they'll take some thunder away from the fact that some Democrats are going to get indicted, maybe even a couple going to prison. But I don't want to get too giddy, even though it is the holidays. There is now a direct connection to why Adam Schiff didn't want the whistleblower outed coming forward and having to answer any questions. And it's not just to, quote, protect the identity and the fact that Adam Schiff is in this up to his eyeballs, but apparently some members of Team Schiff have direct connection to the Ukraine, to Burisma. You remember Burisma, don't you? Well, Trish Reagan over at Fox Business News sat down with a former Bush advisor and got the dirt.
What do you know? We got reports tonight linking members of Adam Schiff's team to that sketchy energy company out of Ukraine, Burisma, the one that paid all that money to Hunter Biden. According to reports in the Washington Examiner as well as Breitbart, two of Adam Schiff's team members worked at something called the Atlantic Council, which was a think tank, which Breitbart says is funded by this Ukrainian company, Burisma. First of all, the Atlantic Council. Breitbart is saying that this is funded in part by Burisma, the Ukrainian company. Does that stuff happen? Do you have foreign companies that are deliberately funding think tanks so that they can effectively get their point of view across in Washington, D.C.?
No doubt. And that's part of the swamp. And, you know, Washington is an insidious place where it's very incestuous. One minute you're in government, the next minute you're outside in a think tank, then you're back in government. And it's a circle that never ends. And I will say that we are complicit. Our enemies know that. Our democracy and our laws allow them to do this through 501c4s, not-for-profits. Don't have to disclose donors. They have different rules. So, you know, shame on us because we allow this to occur.
Brad Blakeman served as an advisor to the original Bush. That would be Bush number 3. And by the way, may I say, when someone like the Bush dynasty talks about deep state, the intelligence community running black ops behind the scenes, you can pretty much take it to the bank. And Blakeman also had something interesting to say about the whistleblower who cannot be named actually also themselves being tied to Burisma and to Team Schiff.
One of Schiff's staffers used to work at the NSC and worked at the NSC with the alleged whistleblower. And so they were buddies at the NSC. Then that guy who was at the NSC, not the whistleblower, the friend of the whistleblower, goes over to work for Adam Schiff. And sure enough, shortly thereafter, the whistleblower's complaint gets filed. And it was just a perfect looking complaint, as though somebody with a legal background had looked it over. Adam Schiff on national television saying, no, I didn't, we did not have any contact with the whistleblower. He then had to amend that. His team said, indeed, we did. And it seems as though the whistleblower was good friends, perhaps through their contacts at the NSC with Adam Schiff's team member. What's going on?
Well, here's what's going on. You have a whistleblower who we know is a professional. It's a civil servant. It's within the bureaucracy of the intelligence community. You tell me that this person does not know the protocol of being a whistleblower, going to the IG within their own department. No, that whistleblower goes where? Goes up to the Hill, to Adam Schiff's office, to his buddies. You just pointed out the relationship. This is not like Kevin Bacon, you're 6 steps removed. This is like 1 step removed. You've worked with these people before, you know what they are. And
you think it was pre-planned, it was premeditated?
It was premeditated, it was pre-planned. The good news is, what is happening in the House will be exposed by the Senate if it goes to trial. If Democrats were smart, they'd shut this thing down. Because where this is going,
I think they're
they don't want to go.
backpedaling now. They don't want it all to come out. This is, a very deliberate, sort of orchestrated move. They thought that they were going to do the president a ton of damage, and instead, they did themselves damage. I mean, you look at all the polling, right?
You just can't make this stuff up. If you're like me, you've watched certain movies, and you just know that what you're watching, which is being portrayed as fiction, now somewhere, they got some inside dirt. They got someone from the deep state to actually give them a little technical advising, and you just know that some of what you're seeing is true. Remember when Will Smith's Enemy of the State came out? Great movie. Jon Voight, the ultimate villain. We just knew that what we were watching was actually happening. And I remember movie reviewers at the time, in particular Siskel and Ebert, talking about, they certainly hope that our government is not this corrupt to be spying on the American people. Sorry, it is happening. It only got worse under George W. And Edward Snowden revealed that. Well, now there's this latest piece of Hollywood fiction that you just know in certain ways is art imitating reality.
What is that?
They're drones! They're drones!
Get the president in the water!
No, we're going under. Dive deep.
You need to be a lot more careful.
Agent Vanning is charged with the attempted murder of the President of the United States.
In the third installment in the Angel Has Fallen series, or the Something Has Fallen series, Gerard Butler, and I love these movies. I have to just tell you, I love these movies. Gerard Butler serves as a Secret Service officer with one main duty: protect the President of the United States with your life. And in this third installment, which I watched over the holiday weekend, delivered good action, great plot line. I don't want to play spoiler if you haven't seen it, but spoiler alert coming. This time around, Morgan Freeman, who was the VP, is now the president, and Gerard is sworn to protect him. There's a drone attack, and the president is now knocked out of commission. And we have the VP having to step into the role, I should say the new VP, stepping into the role as the acting president. Wouldn't you know, this attack, which was being framed on the character of Gerard Butler, why the VP wants America to know Russia is behind it. Russia paid this Secret Service agent to take out the president. More Russian interference. But wait a minute. we find out the VP is a member of the deep state, and he's very concerned that the president in this movie, ironically portrayed by Morgan Freeman, whose policy actually mirrors that of one Donald J. Trump, trying to pull us out of all these foreign interventionary wars that America seems to be in up to its eyeballs, and thwarting this idea of using private contracting paramilitary groups to conduct military operations in the name of the president. Can you say the CIA? Well, of course the CIA, the deep state, not happy about that. That president's got to go. And we got to have a scapegoat. Let's make him a patriot. And let's blame it all on Russia. Is this sounding vaguely familiar? Is this Hollywood's way, cloaking it in fiction, actually defending President Trump? That said, also over the holiday weekend, I watched the new Disney Plus channel because my kids have been begging me for it. And my youngest daughter went ahead and got a subscription to it. So my wife and I, Thanksgiving night, watched the new Lady and the Tramp. And I was heartbroken. And not just because they deleted one of my favorite scenes from the original movie.
We are Siamese, if you please. We are Siamese, if you don't please.
Oh, no. Can't have Siamese cats singing like that. It's racist. Why, look at their buck teeth. Listen to their choppy English. That's horrible. And apparently, I've not watched it, but on the new Disney Plus channel, the original movie is available with a disclaimer that basically the original Walt Disney classic is racially insensitive. Because, you know, we can't teach young people to put anything into any type of historical context. I'm sure that the movie Caddyshack has had the scene deleted where the Japanese businessmen get out of the van and immediately start taking pictures of everything, to which Rodney Dangerfield has a comment. We apparently have become so uber sensitive in our country that absolutely nothing can be made fun of anymore except white rednecks. Hillbilly humor is still okay. You can make fun of anyone south of the Mason-Dixon line and portray them as a rube and a cousin humper. That's okay. But you certainly can't stereotype Asian Americans. They cannot be called Oriental. Why? Don't they come from the Orient? I am not in any way defending racial prejudice in the name of comedy. But what I'm not going to defend either is, number one, blatant hypocrisy. Because apparently white redneck rube boobs can be made fun of all day long. And then another Hollywood stereotype that is under no threat, no challenge of going away is the evil white corporate businessman inflicting pain on the environment, inflicting pain on minorities, and inflicting pain on the American middle class. You are being taken advantage of by not just corporate America, white corporate America. Because certainly no black or minority corporate individuals would ever inflict pain and can never be portrayed as the bad guy. So, what does Hollywood do? What does the new Walt Disney do? They take a classic like Lady and the Tramp, they eliminate the Siamese cat song, and they put in a new version of the song, which is benign, but also in their over-fictionalization. And I realize what I'm about to say is going to sound strange because Lady and the Tramp is pure fiction. Talking dogs, pure fiction. But the original story kind of takes place around the turn of the 20th century. And remember that Walt Disney himself loved to idealize and fictionalize his own childhood, his own memories of Americana, and everything is pristine and perfect. And so we're talking about 1909 Missouri. Here we have 1909 Missouri, complete with pictures of the Mississippi River, a steamboat, a steamship, and beautifully manicured lawns in front of gorgeous Victorian homes. The picture perfect Main Street USA Disney version of America with mixed marriages. Mixed marriages, and again, I'm not opposed to mixed marriages, but we are now taking history and we're eradicating and we're revising it. I couldn't help but think as I watched the scene between Lady and the Tramp's owners, a mixed marriage, and all the wealthy black business owners, in fact, right down to the Asian doctor who came to the house to deliver the baby, none of which would have happened in 1909 Missouri. And again, I understand, let's depict America in a positive light, but where's Spike Lee on this? I remember when Mel Gibson made the movie The Patriot, and he portrayed some black farmers living on his property as free men, and Spike Lee hit the roof. He called for a national boycott of the movie The Patriot. Hey Spike, where are you on the new fictionalized, idealized America version here that Walt Disney is portraying? Lying to children. Tisk, tisk, tisk. And of course, again, we have to make sure that we do not in any way misrepresent what Asian Americans are all about. So the Siamese Cat song, that had to go. And speaking of Asian Americans, we give you presidential candidate Andrew Yang. Notice how instead of wearing the iconic American flag to show his patriotism as a presidential candidate, he's sticking up for math. He's interested in humans first. Presidential candidate Andrew Yang, whose only seeming qualification to be running for the presidency is he wants to give money away.
So I'm running for president to help advance meaningful solutions, including $1,000 a month for every American adult starting at age 18.
And now, folks, it's time for Who Do You Trust? Hubba, 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 money, money, money. Who do you trust? Me? I'm giving away free money.
And for a guy whose slogan is math, apparently he can't do any because the math in this $1,000 a month giveaway doesn't add up.
According to the 2018 U.S. Census, there are roughly 253.8 million U.S. citizens over the age of 18 in the United States. So the freedom dividend would come at a cost of $253.8 billion a month, and a little over $3 trillion a year.
Stephen Colbert, who's never been accused of being smart, even he was smart enough to ask Mr. Yang the obvious question.
Where's the money come from?
Well, if you look up who are the big winners in this economy, it's companies like Amazon, trillion-dollar tech company that paid zero in taxes last year, and that's not unusual for them. They regularly pay zero in taxes. And so if you put a mechanism in place where the American people get a tiny slice of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Uber mile, then we can pay for a $1,000 dividend for the American people, particularly because it would come into our hands and we'd spend it. It would just go through the economy over and over again.
Because the CEOs at Google and Amazon, they're just going to have a come to Jesus moment. Go, we repent for making all this money. We're just going to let Andrew Yang give it away. We repent. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. There's no way that Silicon Valley and corporate America is just going to freely give over all of their profits and not go down with a fight, not fight this, and if somehow an Andrew Yang were to be elected, which will never happen, but if somehow he were to be elected and go after Google and go after Amazon and force them to give the American people a dividend, because what he's doing in pure socialistic form is saying that we, the people, own these companies, not the creators, not the inventors, not the actual owners of the company, but these companies will now be run by the state. Oh, I'm sorry, was I stereotyping there? These companies will now be run by the state, and we are the state. Have you ever noticed how socialists love to talk about we the people, but when they actually come to power, they seize the power and control, and you, the people, are there to serve them? Ask anybody that lives under a dictatorship how well that whole socialism has worked. But then again, we don't actually educate American children on that. We just paint it up, gloss it over. We give it revisionist history. Let's go a little bit conspiratorial here. Shall we? Shall we? What if China is actually behind Andrew Yang? I'm just throwing it out there. What if? Because after all, China needs us far more than we need them. See, we're bringing American manufacturing back. We have American independent on oil now, so we're really ready to rock and roll under this Trump economy. So what does China do? Well, you're not going to get $10 VCRs anymore, so we don't need them. Give us a candidate who talks about math, humanity first, not America first. No. You've got to be part of the global community. Why? Because the global community has been so used to raping us financially, and this new president, this bad, evil man that makes NATO nations pay their fair share, is bringing American manufacturing back, and basically is willing to tell the Orient, I mean Asia, pound sand, he's got to be the bad guy. He's been messing with Russia. He's been messing with Ukraine. All of this canard, all of this fallacy, all of this falseness, just so that they can continue to manipulate our money. And let's put a dupe out there like Andrew Yang. And who does he go after? Well, the gullible, the really undereducated, i.e., in steps the American stereotypical male truck driver. And Andrew Yang's even putting out videos now of all the truck drivers that are going to be voting for him. And we have exposed Andrew Yang and the fraud that he is ad nauseum on here. The government is never going to allow driverless vehicles to just freely go up and down our highways. Not going to happen. That said, Andrew Yang appealing to the gullible, appealing to those that are undereducated and need money. What a great way to control people. I'm going to give you $1,000 a month. That's just enough to keep you working poor. And there, you've been brought up to date. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure you're a subscriber. And make sure you do everything you can to help spread the word about this channel, because we know YouTube won't.